Okay, let's see. No one joined yet. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Test 1, 2. Test, test. All right, thank you, Mark. So we got a few people joining as we speak. We're going to give it a couple more minutes. We're 2 minutes away from starting the webinar. So first off, big thanks to everyone who joined the program. Big thanks. And just as a quick reminder, okay, that I've never done this before. I've never shared as much of this information as I'm going to be sharing today. And I think this is my guess, my educated guess, is that I'm not going to be able to go through everything that I'm planning on this one session. In fact, what I'm looking at right now is about 9,000 words that I would like to share with you, and we're probably going to break it down into two sessions, about 2 hours each. Again, that's my plan. I may be wrong, maybe we'll do it faster, but my ideal outcome for this training is for you to walk out of just this one lesson, just this one session, for you to walk out with the exact idea of what you need to say, how you need to say it, which emotional buttons you should be pushing, what you should be talking about when it comes to converting your prospects from just people who are exposed to you to raving fans. Okay. Now, again, this is true whether or not you plan on creating content. This is true for whether or not you plan on creating marketing. This is true for whether or not you plan to actually, talking to people, chatting with them, sending them emails. Whatever you plan to do in this industry, if you want to make more than, you know, zero, basically, you have to understand, you have to get intimate with your market. And that is what the purpose of this training is about. So it's 10:30 a.m. sharp here in Toronto, Canada. Ready to begin. If you're not attending live, then you will watch the recording, and that's cool. We are not going to be doing any Q&A during this training session. Okay, this is purely educational. Any questions you may have, just email them to me. You know my email, our support email, and we may do a Q&A session as the follow-up. But for now, this is me talking, you listening, and taking notes. Now, it's also very important, guys, that you take actual notes. So I don't care if you're watching this as a recording. Okay, I don't care if you're watching this live. You have to take notes because it's been scientifically proven that if you do, you will actually remember this stuff. Like there's a good 25 or 28% increase of the chance that you will retain this information. And I cannot begin telling you, okay, how many times I've gotten on a coaching call with someone and I asked them, did you read this book? Did you go through this course? And they'd be like, yeah, I did. I'm like, okay, so give me the one big takeaway. And they could not bring it up. They just couldn't, because they didn't take notes, they didn't write shit down, and they didn't take it seriously. So please, you paid a lot of money to be here, then take notes. Okay, pull out a pen and a pad and paper. Open up your Word document. I really don't care how you do it. Just make sure you write things down that resonate with you. You write things down that create those big aha moments for you. And I will also do my best to specify and point out exactly the things I want you to write down. That is why instead of doing like a fancy keynote presentation, what I've done here is I have just opened up a Word document, and anytime there's going to be anything noteworthy, I will be writing it down for you. So, ready to begin. I'm just freaking pumped. I don't know if you can tell. Let me just check the chat box. Hey, Joel. Hey, Mark. Guys, there's, I'll say hello to everyone just right now. Hey, everyone. And we're pretty much done with the hellos, and we're going to dive right in because we got a lot to cover. So welcome to the first session of the List Building Lifestyle Masterclass. And this session is all about your ideal customer avatar. Now, before you can convert a visitor, you really have to understand them. And there's really no going around it. People don't buy from marketers who understand marketing. What they do is they buy from marketers who make them feel understood. And that's the first thing I want you to write down, okay, is people buy from people who make them feel. By the way, notice that I can't spell at all. Like, and if I can do it, anyone can. I'm just kidding. People buy for people who make them feel understood. Okay, so it's not about you being a top class marketer. And this is what I get a lot from people. It's like, Igor, oh my God, you're such good, such an amazing expert at what you do. I can never be at that level. Well, guess what? You don't really have to be. All you have to do is you have to understand who you're working with. You have to understand your customer, and that's what matters. And this is the ideal outcome for this training call, is for you to walk out of here having the exact understanding who that ideal customer is. Because what I notice is that, many people really don't understand the word marketing. They think marketing and selling is kind of the same thing, and what they have to do is just make claims and kind of tell people, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. But it's really not. You see, there's a conversation that takes place in the prospect's mind. Okay, that's between the prospect and themselves. And marketing is joining on that conversation, often without permission or invitation, and leading the prospect through dialogue towards a sales conversation where he or she decides to either accept or reject your offer. Okay, so marketing is joining on the conversation that's happening in the prospect's mind, while selling or getting a sale is inviting the prospect to make a decision to either accept or reject the offer. Okay, selling is not closing. Selling is just inviting a buying decision. But before that can happen, you have to go through the marketing stage, which is having a conversation with a prospect. So marketing is really just a dialogue, and I'm going to write this down for you. Marketing is a dialogue. Okay, and effective marketing feels like you're talking to a best friend you haven't seen in years. It persuades without giving away a vibe of pressure and manipulation. You don't have to explain to your best friend how you feel. They know how you feel. They know you better than you know them yourself, and that is why they're your best friend, right? Let me just fix the spelling here real quick. Again, you'll notice that I'm a really See, I can't even talk today. I'm a terrible speller. Okay, so don't mind that at all. Now, here's a big secret, a huge secret to success in marketing, pretty much success in influence, okay? And it can be summed up in 27 words, okay? The 27 words are: people will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. This is the single most life-changing thing that I can give you on this training and pretty much ever. This sums up the process of influence. And if you examine any situation, any organization, any tribe, cult, religious group, any time you've been influenced into doing anything at all, you'll know, okay, you'll know that this is true, because we will do anything. We will do anything for the people that that encourage our dreams and that tell us that whatever we want to achieve is a good thing. We will do anything for the people that will say that it's not our fault that we failed. We will do anything for the people that calm us down, saying that the things we're afraid of are actually not that big of a deal and we shouldn't be afraid of them because of whatever reason. We will always be in agreement with the people who confirm our suspicion, which is why it pays so well to bash the gurus in our industry who are always suspect to fraud, and people will do a lot for those who together with them throw rocks at their enemies. Again, it's all about aligning ourselves with our target market, aligning ourselves with a prospect. These 27 words will help you influence anyone into pretty much doing anything if done right. Now, of course, the prerequisite for that, okay, is we need to know. We need to understand what drives the customer. We need to understand what their fears are, what their dreams are, how they justify their own failures, what are they suspicious of, and who are they suspicious of, and who are the enemies that we need to throw rocks at. And as soon as we know all of this, we will never have an issue marketing anything to pretty much anyone. And I honestly can tell you that after 10 years in this industry, with the first 3.5 years being extremely unsuccessful, that I am in a big way, I am successful, and I am so good at converting because I spent more time on trying to understand my customer than anything else. The only reason, okay, that I still am giving my personal time to the people who are members of my VIP club, okay, which many of you, of course, are, attending this training. The only reason I'm still doing that, the only reason I'm still having coaching calls is because I would like to always stay in touch and in tune and in sync with my market. And you guys are my market. I mean, you're my best customers. So you're the best people for me to talk to in order to know exactly what drives you and exactly how you feel about everything in your life. So I suggest, follow the same rules in your business, and you invest a lot of time, as much as necessary, into understanding your market. Now, how do you do that? How do you get to know your best customers better than they know themselves? Well, there's 7 things you can do. Okay, and I'm going to write them down for you. First off, you should be reading books they read. Now, what does that mean? If, for example, you are selling programs and products and systems that are designed to help your customers to escape the rat race, then you should be going on Amazon and looking up books that talk about escaping the rat race. Again, let me show an example right here, right now. Let's go to Amazon. And I use Amazon.ca because I'm located in Canada right now, so it just makes more sense for the taxes and the delivery rates. But you go on Amazon.com, obviously. And so let's just say, again, we're selling, we're trying to help people get rich. So we can type stuff like get rich. And there's the book, How to Get Rich or Die Trying, that's by Felix Dennis, a pretty good book. Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. Release Your Money Blocks. This is a book about money habits or money beliefs.
You're not sharing your browser.
Oh, right. Thank you, David. Thank you. This is, by the way, this is David D, who was kind enough to allow me to conduct the training at his place. How about now? Can you guys see my screen right now? All right, cool. So as you can see, I typed in "get rich" in the search box. We got some chat. Can see. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. So I got, I typed in "get rich" in the search box on Amazon, and we got a bunch of books here. How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. It's a pretty cool book. I actually read it about 4 or 5 years ago. Some decent advice. Get Rich, Lucky Bitch is about limiting money beliefs. Then you got the Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. Get Rich: How to Build Legacy Wealth Through Professional Experience and Proven Methods, which actually sounds more like what we need to be reading because it seems more like in tune with the marketplace, right? Building a legacy is a big one. How to Get Filthy Rich in Rising Asia, a novel. I actually read this one, and it's not about getting rich. It's more like a story about love. So we kind of look through some of that stuff, and you got to be careful because some of this get rich stuff will be about stock, some of it is gonna be about real estate. But what about this? What about using some of the phrases and words we hear in our industry, which is escape the rat race? Right, we can do that. So we got the Robert Kiyosaki book, the book that got me started, The Rich Dad Poor Dad. We got The Unemployed Millionaire by Matt Morris, who I actually hosted on the List Building Lifestyle podcast. It's a pretty good book. This book actually describes the classic experience that many of our prospects are going through. How to Escape the Rat Race and Move to Beautiful Countries by Cyrus Kirkpatrick, which seems exactly like the kind of book we need because that's what our ideal customer wants, and we'll talk about it in a minute. And so escape the rat race seems like a much better term to better understand our ideal customer. And you see, there's plenty of books to study. Now, here's an interesting part. Like, first off, obviously, you want to read those books. And you can get them on Audible and kind of listen to them if you want. But also what's important is that each of these books usually has okay, this seems like a comic book actually. Let's see, hold on just a sec. Let's try The Unemployed Millionaire. These books usually have table of contents, and some of them will give you hints as to what our customers are looking for just based on these. A lot of times when I'm creating a new product, that is what I'm looking for. That is what I'm going for at first. Now, another thing that we can do is we can check out the reviews. So in this case, there's not many reviews for this book, so we need to find something with like a good 50, maybe 100 reviews. Let's see if we can get something. 3, 4, 2, 2, 1. Interesting. Let's see. Average customer review 6, 4, 2, 2, 2, 26. Okay, that's not it. How about we try in The Millionaire Fastlane, which we know is a bestseller by MJ DeMarco. Okay, so he got 66 reviews. Okay, so let's check them out. There's a bunch of them, right? And you want to read everything. You want to read the 1-star reviews and the 2-star reviews because it will show you the mindset that people have about this stuff. And this is probably the highest value for your time. Like if we're talking about doing market research, getting the intel from Amazon about the books that are in your niche is going to be an extremely beneficial to you, So that's the first step you can take. The second step you should be taking is subscribe to news outlets they subscribe to. Okay, now I don't know what kind of news outlets there are, for income opportunity stuff, maybe the Entrepreneur magazine or whatever, but it's definitely not Forbes magazine or anything like that. So this one, I haven't done much of it, to be honest with you, because I started it back in Israel. I was just in a small town. I didn't have access to much printed media at all. And I didn't bother checking, any specific news sites because there weren't any when I started. Like, the industry was much smaller than it is right now, and I could just read blogs, but I was reading blogs for the sake of learning anyway, so I didn't really pay attention. I didn't really use it as a method. The number 2. Number 3, though, is something that I've done and you should be doing as well. That is observe what they buy and what they don't buy. And this is extremely important, and I really didn't give it as much importance as I thought as I needed to. Because I really just believed people for what they told me. Like, I just listened to people and I thought whatever they're saying is true. But turned out that it's not true. We're going to be, discussing that in a bit. People actually, they vote with their wallets. So rather than by listening what they tell you, but by observing what they buy, you will be able to tell what drives them. Right. So even if people tell you that they're tired of buying get rich quick schemes, but then they turn around and buy into a paid survey site, that says, okay, that says that they are chasing the get rich quick schemes. It's just what they do. And that's okay. So always watch for what they buy and what they don't buy. In other words, like if you know that a program, again, let's just say paid surveys program where people are promised to get paid for filling out surveys, sells better, and if you can get the stats for it, of course, sells better than, say, a program that teaches them how to build blogs, then you know for a fact that if you start a program teaching people how to build blogs, you will not make as much money. So that is important data you should be aware of. The fourth thing, the fourth thing you should do is something. Once you have a list, of course, and once you have an audience, you should test marketing angles. And I do it all the time with emails. That's like the easiest way to do it for me. If you have a large social media following, you can do it with that. See which videos or which posts get more likes and shares and views. You can do it with YouTube as well. Basically, testing the angles, what this means is that presenting the same offer from different points of view and seeing which point of view generates a higher response. What this will tell you, it will kind of disclose to you how people think and perceive things and how they want to think about things. And that allows you to usually pick the best headline or the best positioning for your offer, which then results in much better conversions. Now, this is an advanced thing, obviously. So this is for people who have large lists, for people who have large followings, and people have an audience to test it with. If you're just starting out, have no audience, obviously you can't do it. But that's okay, because you can still do number 5, and that is interview your potential clients and best customers. Okay? But what's important is that, just like I mentioned a minute ago, watch what they say in private versus public versus actions. So in other words, what people will say in public is going to be one thing. What people will tell their friends and their family is going to be one thing. What people will admit to you in private, if they really trust you, is going to be a different thing. And the way people will act when they're on their own, just left to their own devices, is a completely different thing. So when you interview people, what's important is that, besides asking the right questions, of course, what's important is to read between the lines. Don't just take whatever they tell you at face value. Always try to read between the lines and look for the emotional reason, the ego reason, as I like to call it, for why they act a certain way. Okay, I cannot overemphasize the importance of this fact, because I spent the longest time trying to sell customers what they weren't actually buying. I made a little bit of money, but it was never enough to cover my ad spend. It was never enough to cover my bills or rent. My conversions shot through the roof, of course, when I stopped trying to market what I thought they wanted and what they told me they wanted, and instead watched what they voted for with their wallets, right? So again, private versus public versus action versus purchases. I learned a lot interviewing people from my coaching program. And again, it only made sense, and I was only able to use all that information after not just interviewing them for the coaching program, but also working with them one-on-one, and then kind of seeing the inconsistencies in their behaviors. Okay, so there's really 3 big things for you to remember here. Is first, people often said one thing and acted in a totally opposite way. When they were presented with a chance to do what they said they wanted to do, okay, they actually didn't do it. They acted differently. And I learned that by just kind of observing them and presenting them with the opportunities to stay consistent with what they said they wanted to do. But people often disappointed me by acting otherwise. Now, at first, I obviously took it personally, and I thought I was a bad coach, but eventually I realized that this is just human nature, and I stopped fighting it. Now, the second challenge was spotting commonalities in what they were saying, right? So it took me actually a couple of years to figure this out. I would record the calls, and then I would listen to the recordings of those interviews late at night. And I tried to pick out things that were coming up over and over again from people from different backgrounds, ages, sexes, ethnicities, and so on. And I now use these commonalities anytime I create marketing material, because they serve as a great justifier to push people off the fence. And what's crazy is that the material I picked up, 4 or 5 years ago, is just as relevant, if not more relevant today than it was before. And I'm guessing, of course, but I guess it was the same 15, 25, 35, 55 years ago as well, because human nature doesn't change. In fact, through the technology and through this, all the advancements, people's nature only got sort of more ingrained in who they are. It just multiplied rather than, changing. So the third challenge was observing what they were really saying and not just listening to the words, okay? What they were really saying. So I had to read between the lines and listen to their tonality and their emotional responses, because people often try to hide these, like their true feelings behind words and polite smiles. But by far the most valuable intel I've collected in my career was those subtle things they didn't really say with words. They usually said it with their responses, with their emotions, with their tonality, with their buying decisions. That's where the true intel lives. Now, it's like at that point, once I figured these things out, it's like I suddenly developed an X-ray vision for what converts, and I knew their objections before they came up. I knew their desires before they could find the words to express them, and I've had an unfair advantage every marketer dreams of, which I still carry with me to this day. So it is, I couldn't really overemphasize this stuff. Number 6, study support desk inquiries. Okay, now this is good, because what you're really doing here, if you have a support desk, you will be able to spot objections that you can kind of tackle in your sales copy, in your presentations, in your marketing content, and you will also be able to learn a lot about their belief systems if you have something you're already selling and they're buying it and they're coming to you with the support desk inquiry. So this is really, really big, and again, requires for you to actually have a support desk, of course, but it's really worth setting one up, even if you're the one handling all the support inquiries and it's adding an extra 2 hours a week to your work. But trust me, it's worth it just as much as it's worth to interview people, to interview your best customers and your best prospects. And number 7, which is pretty powerful. I can't say if it's the most powerful one out of them all, but it's pretty darn powerful. That is, attend events. Okay, it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory, and I gotta admit, I have succeeded in this industry in spite of not attending any events until the point that I was making about $25,000 to $35,000 per month. But I gotta tell you, things got a lot easier after I started attending them, because at the right events, when I met the right people, I not only found the right mentors for me, I not only found mastermind partners and made connections, but what I've noticed is that at the events, I dove into this world behind the closed doors. Of course, I dove into the world of marketing, and I got to see it from a different perspective. All of a sudden, things I thought were impossible seemed very much possible to me, because if I'm, say, making $25K per month, and I'm attending an event, and I meet 3 other people who are making $125,000 per month, all of a sudden my brain goes, okay, I met them. They don't seem much smarter than me. In fact, 2 of these 3 guys are complete freaking douchebags, and they're kind of dumb, and they get shit-faced. So obviously I can get my business to 125 per month. So events were big, not just in terms of understanding the market, but also in recognizing and identifying my blind spots. That was really big for me. So before I share what I learned by doing all these things, I want to help you recognize marketing for what it is. Okay, it's the art of swaying a small fraction of our audience into customers. And I really can't this is super friggin' important. You really should write this down. Small fraction, okay, of visitors into customers. Now, why is it so important to understand that? Well, when you hear other marketers brag about killing it, quote unquote, killing it with their marketing, they may be getting a 3 to 5% visitor to sale conversion. they may be getting, if they're really good, 8 to 10% if they're running highly optimized webinars or highly optimized offers with a highly optimized crowd. If they got a killer list and a product that nails their customers' desires and needs like spot on bullseye sort of marketing, they may climb over 10%. But the vast majority are hovering around 1 to 2% tops, or even less, often much less. And so the marketing industry is really the art of playing with these really small numbers. That is why anytime you run a solo ad or anytime you run Facebook ads, you notice that it's only a small fraction of the clicks and views that you're getting that turns into customers. And then you think, oh no, I'm probably doing something wrong. But no, you're not. That's just the way this thing works. You see, these are really just terrifyingly low numbers, and I get that, and that's okay, because these numbers can make you rich beyond belief as they are. And this is the part that people really don't understand. Now what I'm going to share with you today isn't going to get you 100% conversion rate by any means, but it will dramatically shoot up your chances to get sales and signups into your income opportunity, a coaching program, a service, information product, affiliate offer, whatever that is in the internet marketing space. And if you're pulling 1 to 2% conversions, I feel I've accomplished my mission, because with that, you will be able to fire your boss and get filthy rich. Because right now, if we study all of my offers, well, there are some offers that I created specifically for my list, and they just kind of get dripped to my audience because I know that that's the right stage. I know that's the right timing, that's the right angle, that's the right offer, that's the right price, etc. After years of testing it, and those offers are pulling a good 20%, but those are so rare and unique, and those are pretty much just kind of limited to my own audience. If I take the same offer to a cold audience on someone else's list or whatever, that my conversion is going to be so much lower, and that's just the name of the game. That's cool. That's a part of the process. We are going to be, of course, throughout this course, studying how to get those 20% conversions. Obviously, I'm going to show you how I do it. You're going to know exactly how it's done. But right now, we're talking about getting that first sale, right? Getting them into your front end, and usually that involves 1 to 2% conversion if you're really, really good. So together, we're basically going to form an ideal customer avatar for work from home offers and programs, internet marketing programs, and anything to do with the make money online industry. And you'll find many commonalities between our avatar and the weight loss avatar or the dating avatar, etc. And everything we talk about today can be easily applied to these markets, easy. But we'll leave that for another time, because the focus today is on successfully marketing make money online programs. And before we continue, I really want you to make sure you wrote this down, okay? People will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. These 5 things are critical and essential in order to influence people into your way of thinking and into buying from you, especially if you never met them before. And if you ever wonder, how does like a complete stranger go about sending like a good, $200 to another stranger over the internet? That's the only way, because they instantly develop this belief that the stranger that's getting their money understands them and is acting out of their best interest. And that's exactly what we're going to help you do. Now, of course, I have to make the disclaimer that if you're selling some bullshit product, if you're selling a bullshit system and you use these tactics, you will still convert, but the marketplace will catch up with you. I've made a mistake of teaching these tactics privately to a couple of clients that abused it. One of them actually abused it on the Warrior Forum and ended up selling it was like a coaching program for list building, where they were charging people $3,000 per client. And they sold like 60 packages, didn't deliver on any of it, had their PayPal account shut down, had their merchant account shut down. And one of them even tried to make a comeback under a different name because the reputation was shot to shit. But even then, everyone quickly caught up with them. So they're no longer in the internet marketing space. They had to change professions. The other person is someone who I coached locally back in Israel, and they ended up having a collective lawsuit, actually of going against them, which they ended up losing, filing for bankruptcy, and just it was a nasty story. But the fact of the matter is, they used these not these tactics specifically, but the understanding that I brought to the table about who they're selling to in order to craft the ideal messages that got people to act in spite of them having the worst interest in their mind and no credibility, no existing credibility, no testimonials, and so on. So, how do we get people to know that we understand them? It's really not an incredibly difficult thing to accomplish, because what we need to do is we need to get answers to 14 questions. That's how we do it. And the questions are: what scares them? I'm just going to list them for you so you can write them down. Then we're going to go into detail for each and every question. So the first one is what scares them, what frustrates, angers them. And you should be writing this down with me, guys. What have they tried in the past that failed? What they suspect to be true as to why they failed and why it's so hard to succeed. What's their day-to-day look like for them? What are some of the daily occurrences in their life that annoy them? Really bad on the spelling today. Too many espressos. I literally just had two before starting the webinar to make sure my energies levels are up. Who and what are their enemies? Number 7, what's their ideal outcome? What are they secretly, ardently desire most? Eight is what have they bought in the past that failed? 9, what have they bought in the past that worked? Okay. 10 is what's a built-in bias to the way they make decisions. This is a big one, because when it comes to getting them off the fence, we have to know exactly what's the process they go through to either accept or reject an offer. That gives us a huge advantage. What's their language? What keeps them awake at night? Staring at the ceiling. This is another big one. If you can figure that an issue getting someone's attention, because people are always self-consumed with their problems. Who else is marketing to them something similar successfully? And just as important, who else is marketing to them something similar unsuccessfully? Right, Joel. Okay, let me just minimize it a little bit just so you guys can see the whole thing. Okay, this should be good. You should be able to see the whole thing from 1 to 14, right? Yep. Okay, gotcha. Cool. So these are the questions. These are the questions that if you answer them, you have figured out internet marketing offers, like how to promote them, how to position them. You never run out of things to say in your emails. Quite literally, like, you got it figured out. And I know this may sound like a big claim, but that's how I feel. Once I've answered these questions, I was able to create my first successful offer, which is a program called Crossing the Free Line. Then I renamed it into the Instant List Building Formula, which was a much better name. Sold it at $37. Myself then relaunched it as the 2.0 version on JVZoo, made 10 grand in a freaking 3-day span. For me, somebody who used to make 10 grand after a full 8 month of hard work nonstop at the hotel scrubbing fucking floors, making 3 grand in 3 days by launching an info product for $17 and having a $27 upsell just because I knew what my customer wanted to buy. That was incredible. That was just freaking incredible. I can't believe how quickly life changed since that point. So that was definitely one of the catalysts to my success, and I'm teaching this to you. I'm showing this to you just to kind of reverse engineer my success so you can do the same for yourself, because the answers to these questions have not changed. But, my understanding over the years of how to answer these questions actually improved. And what I'm going to be giving to you here is a 10-year education that I learned in the trenches, because believe it or not, there's not a single person out there who ever shared answers to these questions in full, start to finish. The closest person who came, like really just the closest one that really helped me, was Dan Kennedy with his opportunity marketing program, which I only discovered about 2 years ago when I was already making 6 figures a month. But it got me to create a better understanding. And of course, I would say ethically borrowed a bunch of the material after learning it from that program. So, Dan Kennedy gets the props all the way. But I've been preaching Dan Kennedy. I've been, Dan Kennedy's fanboy ever since I can remember. Got all of his books, bought his $3,000 seminar recordings. And, now that I'm in North America, I'm definitely going to be attending one of those damn events. So it happens this year that I'm attending an event and I'm speaking at one, and then his event is happening at the same time, so I couldn't go. But if you get Dan Kennedy's material, just know that he gets my seal of approval, and anything with his name on it, just get it. Just seriously get it. You will be a much better marketer as a result. So, so these are the questions, and the rest of this session is us answering these questions together, or if I'm a bit more honest, then me answering these questions for you and helping you understand exactly how to market to your people. So let me go ahead and make sure I haven't missed anything here. Okay. Yep. So we're ready. Now, before I answer these questions for you, there's one thing I want to do. I want to take another detour for a few minutes and share some of the mistakes that I've done along the way that held me back, that I believe you may be making right now as well, that if we get these out of the way before you start creating your marketing, you will succeed so much faster you wouldn't even believe. So what are the mistakes? In other words, like the way I frame it is what I wouldn't have done if I was starting over right now with no assets and just the knowledge that I have. So I wouldn't try to market products to myself. In other words, starting out, just like every single person who ever got into our business, I marketed to people just like myself. That's what I thought. I thought that I was my customer. I promoted programs I myself buy. I marketed these programs using the language and the attitudes I myself appreciated. I was creating marketing for myself, and that was a mistake. Okay, that was a big mistake. I wasn't my client. I was not. I defaulted to this way of marketing because the only person I knew was me, which brings me back to the idea, that it's really hard to learn how to market to this crowd. It's really difficult to understand these people if you are like spending your time in isolation. If you're not chatting with any of them, if you're not interviewing them, if you're not joining any masterminds, if you're not attending any events, like it's really difficult to understand your market if you're not intimately involved in, with the market, at least initially. When you're isolated, even though you got access to the world's largest supply of information in history, you're still operating from a very narrow vision, okay, of who your customers really are. Most marketers operate without a vision, of course, and of course they're just shooting in the dark. No wonder they fail. Another thing I would not do is I would not market to everyone. Okay, actually, I think I should be writing this down for you. So the first thing the do not. Okay, Do not market to thyself, and do not market to everyone. Now, what do I mean by that? When I say don't market to everyone is I meet many people who believe they've got a product that's going to change the world and a product that everyone needs. But that's not true. That's not true at all. Everyone does not need your product. And even if they did, they still wouldn't buy it because some people are too dumb to buy, other people are too lazy to buy, other people are too broke to buy, and other people are just not going to buy just to spite you because your face is ugly, to them. It's just the way it's going to be. So you have to accept the fact that people usually kind of break down into groups. And that's cool because you don't need everyone to buy a product to get really, really rich. You just need a small segment of the market to pay attention to you. Steve Martin, the legendary comedian and Hollywood actor, says that every movie is a cult movie. This means that no matter what you're marketing, you should always narrow it down to your specific customer avatar of that particular group, okay? Or as we call them online, a niche. And there's riches in the niches. And today, the niches are big enough to make you really, really rich. For example, the market is big enough for you to literally choose out of a bunch of different groups. And your group only needs to be about a few thousand people big to make a full-time income. And if you have a group of 10 to 30,000 people following you, then you will make quite literally 6 figures every single month. And if your group is in the hundreds of thousands, or just, if it crosses 100,000, then you're pretty much guaranteed to become a multi-millionaire. Now, this is really something that took me a while to understand. It's like, how can you go and only have, 200 customers and make more money in like a month than people make in a year? Well, online, you can. You can because of the leverage and the reach. So I want you to get rid of the idea that you need to hit everyone. You really do not. You need to hit a very narrow segment of the marketplace. Another thing I wouldn't do is get obsessed about targeting rich prospects or people with high income. Okay, that's another thing. Do not market to rich people. And don't obsess about them too, because there's no island somewhere in the South Pacific where they hide. Rich people are the same as poor people; they're hiding in the same places. If you go to, my hometown back in Israel, only 25,000 people big. About 500 people in that town are fairly wealthy. Now, this is a really small percentage. However, their buying decisions, their buying habits are the same as poor people's habits. And if I run a bakery, I'll market my baked goods the same way to them as I would to the poor people. So it's really not about their income. Like, that wouldn't even be my concern at this point, no matter what I was selling. Because right now I know that I will have broke people, middle class people, and rich people buying it, and that's cool. Unless I'm selling some sort of, asset protection advice, and that's a whole different story. But you're always going to have fewer rich clients than the broke clients you will have. And the desire to come after prospects with money is actually a symptom of lack of understanding of the marketplace and the people in it. You think that it's about how much money they've got in the bank and the freedom that they've got to spend it, but it's not. It's not about how much money they got in the bank. It's about their buying habits, okay? Your client is buying your products because it's their desire. It's their passion. They just buy internet marketing stuff. That's just what they do. Some people, play chess. Other people, attend sporting events. Your market just buys internet marketing products, and that's just what they do. It's their passion. It doesn't matter how much money they've got. They will buy it because they enjoy buying it. Just like, somebody like I was just attending a Kid Rock concert 6 to 8 weeks ago, and I noticed that people who attended it were, I guess on the lower side of the spectrum when it comes to income, because of how they dressed, because of how they spoke, because of how they behaved. But guess what? Somehow they found like a good $150 to attend the damn concert. Somehow they found the money for the guests to drive up from a bunch of different places down to downtown Toronto to attend. Somehow they found the money to buy, $18 beers and $25 glasses of wine. Somehow they got the weed for it because everybody smoked it. Somehow they found the money to buy, the $20 t-shirt and CD. Like they just found the way to afford it. Do they really have the money? Well, I don't know. If you would meet them the next day and knock on their door and be like, so we're we're collecting money for this charity for people who don't have index fingers, whatever. Like, can you donate $10? They'd be like, I have no money. Or when the bank is gonna come and knock on their door and be like, you're late on your mortgage, they'd be like, well, what can I do? I have no money, right? But they will find the money for a Kid Rock concert. Just like, a teenager has no money, will find the money to buy like the FIFA or an Xbox game, whatever, because it's their passion. People always find money for their passion. And this is something took me a long time to realize. I just thought that I should like somehow try and get the rich people. Like really not, really not the case, really not the case. In fact, the person who will benefit from the things you're selling, if you're selling internet marketing stuff, the person trying to get rich, is actually the broke person. The broke person needs it more. The broke person will take it more seriously, and the broke person will be the one who will take aggressive action, and not the rich guy or the rich gal or the rich whatever. So something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind about the do's and the don'ts. Now, you really should write this down because it's really, really important. Your clients' desire to buy income opportunities, internet marketing tools, software, coaching, workshops, mentoring, consulting, and God knows what else is actually, believe it or not, and accept it or not, it's an addiction. It's an addiction of sorts. They just love to do it. Whether you sell it to them or not, it doesn't matter. They're buying it. If not from you, then from someone else. So you should always keep that in mind. Now, another thing you must understand is that people's problems are their hobbies. That's another one. Their problems are hobbies. Let me write this down. Problems equal hobbies. Okay? Now, why is that important? You see, that's why the problem that they're trying to solve doesn't go away with the purchase of another book, course, or seminar. This doesn't mean you shouldn't offer them solutions. Remember, they want it. It's their passion. But it also means that you should not only be okay with your customers not experiencing breakthrough, but also offer additional products and services while upping the ante because they will seek and buy them. Okay, now this is an idea that's going to be hard to reject initially, but I want you to just I want to plant the seed. Because having figured this out, I've multiplied my business year to year and made tremendous impact in our industry. I went from trying to offer everything in one program for a reasonable one-time fee to developing a product line where the client was free to move up the ladder from my front-end offer that solves a widely common problem all the way up to a high-ticket program that solves an ultra-specific issue. From revenue standpoint, I started making multiples of what I used to because average customer value shot through the roof because one customer was buying several products. From an impact standpoint, obviously, there were more people at the bottom of the ladder, right, who didn't move up, but those who climbed to the top were much better clients and had much better results. In fact, some clients are even like, they sort of waited for me to release new things just so they could buy them. Like it's just something they wanted to do. So you definitely want to move away from the model that says, I'm going to create one thing that solves all the problems. Okay, like the one thing that solves all the problems. Even with this masterclass I'm doing right now, this masterclass is quite literally about how to market to your list, but it's not going to go into, say specifics about how to get traffic, right? Because it's not about traffic, it's about conversions here. And, traffic is going to be a different program, a different product if I ever choose to release one. So I want you to know this stuff. I want you to really understand that people's problems are their hobbies, and chasing solutions for those problems is the desire, the passion. It's the thing they want to do. It's how they want to spend their free time. That's just the case. Okay. Now, the next thing that made a huge impact on my results was to think psychologically about my customer, not geographically. So let me write this down. Psychologically not geographically. Now, what does that mean? Now, what that means is, from a common sense standpoint, obviously we want English speakers with credit cards from the United States, right? I mean, obviously that's what we want. However, being someone who grew up in Ukraine, right, and then immigrated to Israel as a kid, I know firsthand just how bad Ukrainian and Israeli customers are, for example, right? So while we do want people from countries that have credit, and institutions that issue credit cards, because that's how you buy things online, you actually like use your card. But what we really don't want is we don't want people who are not the exact psychological profile match for what we got. For example, a lot of people here in downtown Toronto are probably not going to be a good fit for income opportunity marketers like you and I, because they just have this mindset of really, really looking for a stable job. It's just fucking nuts. They really would much rather make 6,000 Canadian per month before taxes for the rest of their lives, but knowing that they have a steady job, than to try and become an entrepreneur. Like I was having a chat with David D, buddy of mine who's in whose apartment I'm right now conducting this training. And, he was like, I was that guy. I was the guy who used to work for this, giant a cell phone giant here in Canada. And I was really happy with just having a paycheck and knowing that next month I'm going to have a paycheck. But then something changes. And so once that moment arrives, once, someone like David recognizes that, look, this doesn't work for me. And then it could be like the bonus that he didn't get, or maybe, unexpected bills that piled up, or a divorce and then child support, etc. And he suddenly has to make more money. Like, things have to change in their life, and they have to approach life from a different psychological standpoint for them to suddenly become our ideal customer. Okay, so that's how I want you to think about people, from a psychological and not geographical standpoint. Okay, because that's how most people think about their prospects. Like, when you ask them, who's your ideal customer, they'd be like, someone who lives in the Midwest of the United States, somebody who's between 20 and 50 years old, works on a high-paying job, and wants to travel. Like that'd be their answer. But the real answer is not that. The real answer is somebody who's consistently unfulfilled by what they're doing every day. They lost interest in their job. The job is paying okay money, but not significant enough to justify the commute every day. Somebody who has a family and thinks about legacy, somebody who consistently has to say no to their loved ones about buying things they want for them and, of course, themselves, right? So, see, we get into the psychological. We don't even talk about the way the person, like where the person lives, or how old they are. Like, that's just not something that concerns us at this point. It's the psychological stuff that concerns us, and that's what you need to be focused on. So here's a huge paradigm shift that really turned things around for me. Our audience, once identified, dictates the kind of offers we promote to them. Most marketers do it the other way around. They look for a product to create, right, and set out to market it to the masses. So they make something, they make something up and then go market it. But the easier approach is to find an audience that's already buying a certain type of product and offer it to them. Okay, so two rules apply here. One, there's a buyer for every product and a product for every buyer. And two, a buyer is a buyer is a buyer. These two rules are really important, because rather than, again, creating a product and then finding out ways to market it, we first need to identify whether or not there's a market for the product and how exactly it's positioned by other people who market it. And only then we enter the marketplace with our product. That's why I always love to enter markets with competition, because if there's no competition in the market, at least some competition, there's a good chance there's no market. There's a good chance that they still haven't figured out how to sell the thing that we want to sell. And another thing I never realized until much later in the game is that many offers fail because there's a gap between where the customer is and where the market is in the marketing conversation. Okay, so in other words, there's a gap, and I call it the conversation gap. The conversation gap basically means that by the time we're ready to discuss an issue with the customer, and the point at which we discuss it with them, they're simply not on the same wavelength. For example, if I bring up the issue of traffic online with the average business opportunity marketer, they will not be able to resonate with what I'm talking about. I have to bring it back, okay, to their experience, to their day-to-day experience, to something that's happening in their life right now, and then lead them from that point in the conversation to traffic. For example, I can talk about how, you know, they joined a business opportunity or an MLM, they invested heavily, but it's been 4 months and they haven't seen any returns. If I talk about that, then they're listening because that's their experience. They still don't know that their issue is traffic. They still don't understand that their issue is they not building a list. Right? They think it's, oh, I made a mistake and I joined the wrong business opportunity. That's what they're thinking about. So I have to join them where they are and lead them to where I want them to be in order to successfully position my product, program, or service as the solution. Okay, that is why it's so important to know the market. So to successfully convert, again, you want to write this down. To successfully convert, we must start where they are psychologically, and lead them to where we are. Okay, it's really important. We have to take things slow, one step at a time, and please don't expect them to catch up to you because they won't. The moment you go in too fast, the moment you skip a segue, the moment you really just say something that flies a little bit over their head, they'll just stop listening and go buy from someone who talks to them in a way that they understand them, in the way that shows that they're being understood by that person. Okay, so we really want to keep that in mind. Keep in mind all these tidbits that we just talked about, because we're literally diving in to the questions. We're diving into the 14 questions, and there's a lot. Okay, there's a lot to cover. We still have a good hour and a half to go. But what I want you to really be ready to do is take notes in short format. Keep in mind, you will have the recording of this training, so you will be able to go back to it. But I want you to put down these little bullet points for every little thing that I mentioned. So first question is, what scares them? That's what we're going to be discussing now. And just I'm kind of just going to bring this down to a brand new page. Okay, what scares them? So what scares them? First things first. What scares them is to try and fail. People are reluctant to try something if there's a high probability of failure. This is especially true for the ones who are hyper buyers, meaning that, you know, they buy everything, like the shiny object syndrome people, because they tried and failed often. Most of the time, when they buy something, they walk away with a black eye. Okay, which is figure of speech, of course. They basically walk away disappointed. It makes them reluctant to try similar things. They're in a state of tug of war between falling back to their old life, which they hate, and at the same time try to change it, which means they have to try something they haven't tried before. They know life won't change without action, but having tried other income opportunities, even though 9 times out of 10 the opportunity didn't work for them because, well, let's face it, because they didn't work it, but they, you know, obviously they won't admit it. They're afraid to try again, yet at the same time, they don't want their life to stay the same, so they're forced to try again. So basically, I'm going to try and simplify this. Although your customers always make it seem like they're tired of the scams, and they're tired of trying, and they're tired of being disappointed, their actions are different. They'll buy more income opportunities, okay? And remember, it's their passion. It's what they do. They want to solve the problem, and the problem persists no matter how much they buy. And there are 4 ways, okay? Now, this is actually just quite literally the solution to this, okay? There are 4 ways to appeal to this decision-making process, because it is a decision-making bias that you will have to overcome, and I want to even say manipulate to your advantage in order to get them to agree. Now, we're going to get around to the whole issue of should you or should you not be aggressive with your marketing in a bit, hopefully within this session. But for now, just take what I'm saying at face value. So there's 4 ways to influence people who tried and failed big time. So first off, people are pain avert. They're afraid of experiencing pain to a higher degree of their desire to experience pleasure. Now, this is a big concept, and it's true for virtually every single person, with an exception of some people who are like psychologically different for any reason, like from birth, or maybe they got knocked in the head or something. Like, this is 99.99% of the world population. They are pain avert. This means they're more likely to act on your offer out of fear of pain and fear of missing out than out of desire to make money. Remind them what their life may look like a year from today if they don't do anything to change it. Okay, this is a big one. I used it a lot when I sold coaching, when people applied and then we went through the motions, and I said, okay, so it's going to be 10 grand to join. And whenever I would get resistance, the way I would know whether someone could truly afford it or not is I would ask them, so okay, so I guess you're fine with just going back to your life as it is right now. And if they truly hate and experience psychological pain towards the life as is, they would find a way to, like, they would try negotiating. For example, they'd be like, okay, is there a payment plan, or can you get me at a discount, because I really don't have that much money? Or they'd be like, can you pay me, can I pay you out of my profits and stuff like that? So this way, I knew for a fact that they really wanted to change their life. People who didn't want to change it, or who didn't want to change it to an extent of paying the price I was asking, like, they wouldn't respond to that sort of marketing. But that's a really good way to market. Again, does not require you to make any claims, because you're literally talking about the things that revolve around the prospect and their world. Now, the second thing is, your best customers, no matter how noble and hardworking they build themselves up to be, no matter how rich they are, they always look for a cause of their success and failure outside of themselves. Now, this is a huge concept, huge, and it's so true for everyone in our industry, including the people who are super duper successful. The transfer of responsibility for their failures and their successes, okay, is unconscious and automatic. And we have to appeal to this bias by putting responsibility on either your opportunity, the system, or even yourself. So I'll give an example for this, and I keep bringing up David because he's just literally sitting in front of me. But David, to this day, and it's been, I think, 5 years since that occurred, or 4 years since that occurred. Since joining my Solo Tycoon coaching program and becoming successful on the internet within just 90 days, building a huge list, making money, and now even launching his own business opportunity, okay, without actually owning any products, which is an amazing freaking concept. Really just revolutionizing the game. To this day, David claims, okay, that I am responsible for his success. We actually went out to a dinner yesterday with a couple of mutual friends, and the way he introduced me was, he's the guy. He's the guy who made me successful. And I'm like sitting there, and I still can't believe it. It's been so long, and David obviously puts in a lot of work. He studied copywriting, marketing, sales funnels. He actually built pretty fucking insane sales funnels right now, and he puts in a lot of work into that. But somehow, deep inside, the way his mind and hard work, which is the same way that almost everyone else's mind and hard work, is the transfer of responsibility for success occurs. And the reason for why he's successful has to be someone or something else. Again, in this case, I happen to be that person, but for me, it's the same thing. Whenever whenever my success is celebrated by pretty much anyone, I try to sort of divert that and say, oh, I'm only successful because of this or because of that, or you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like a polite thing to do, but the reality is that's also how I feel. And it takes a lot of convincing me to get me to admit to the fact that, hey, maybe I'm successful because I learned a lot, and I tried a lot, and I failed a lot, and I invested a lot of money, and I worked and I worked and I worked, and I helped a lot of people, etc. But again, the brain just doesn't work that way. especially with our best customers when it comes to income opportunities, they will not accept responsibility. So by trying and appealing to their sense of responsibility, you're just wasting time. What you need to do is you need to help them transfer the responsibility on something outside of themselves. Which again, what it happens to be is your income opportunity or the technology or the owner of the income opportunity, whatever. Like it has to be something or someone else. Again, couldn't be more important. Like it's just so important. I know I've been saying this about every single thing I've been saying so far, but you have to understand that if you nail down all this stuff, if you nail down even 20% of it, you'll be rich. Most marketers don't. Some of them nail it down by accident, but they can't really articulate it. This is pure reverse engineering on successful income opportunity marketing. And I really hope that at least 50% of this stuff settles in your brain and in your heart, and you use it in your business. The third way is your customer, what they do is they compartmentalize. I can't believe I actually said it out loud correctly for the first time. They compartmentalize the opportunities and methods, okay, that they tried into old and new. Now, this was a surprising thing for me to learn at first, because I thought they compartmentalize things as in like things that have to do with list building, things that have to do with blogging, things that have to do with social media. But no, what they do is they kind of break it down into just old and new, the things I've tried that seem old and the things I haven't that seem new. That's why, by the way, the shiny object syndrome is never going to go away, because the brain just breaks down into, did I try this yet? No. Awesome. Then I will try it. And that's it, because I'm still looking for that result. And this is the solution I haven't tried. It's kind of like going through painkillers, So if my shoulder is inflamed, or I don't want to say inflated because it implies that it's burning, but basically if I have a pain in my joints or my bones or my head, I take a pill, and the pill doesn't help. What do? I try another remedy. It can be another pill. It can be an old grandma recipe by putting like a pineapple on your forehead or something, but I'll try new methods that I haven't tried before. And that's how the brain works about income opportunities. So they're willing to try new things. That's the point. And the new things excite them. They appeal to the feeling of novelty. Okay, so that's what we need to do. We need to appeal to the novelty of our program, because it delivers one of the best messages in income opportunity marketing, period. And the message is, this time is going to be different because this is different, and you don't have to be different. Now, the last part of it is actually really important. They don't have to be different for it to work. In other words, people, just to the same extent that they put the responsibility for success and failure onto someone or something else, they also have this very low self-esteem, and they believe that if they don't have the right credentials, we're going to chat about this in a minute, they will not be able to be successful. Which is why, by saying this is new and you haven't tried this before, and you should try this, by saying that, what we're doing is we are appealing to that sense, and we're allowing them an excuse of saying, okay, I don't have to be an expert. I don't have to be different. I don't have to be, smart, whatever. I'll just try this new thing because it eliminates the need for me to be skilled or to be in some way that supposedly gives me permission to succeed. Now, last but not least, the way you play on this bias is your customer also has a strong belief in leadership. The person who runs the opportunity is just as important, and sometimes even more important, than the program, the comp plan, the product, and the proprietary technology. Okay, that's why besides marketing your opportunity, you should always market the founder and the CEO. And this is something I learned only recently, actually. And I've used this technique during a promotion I've done for Michael Cheney. Now, collectively, to this day of me actually recording this training, I've made, I think, just under, actually, I think I just surpassed $100,000 in commissions with Michael Cheney. And that was from 2 promotions to my list. That's only 13,000 people, done over a span of, I think, 4 months total. Now, on average, that's of course 25 $1,000 per month, but on average, it's also 50,000 per promotion. And what I've done during that promotion is I've built up the founder of the opportunity just as much as I've built up the opportunity itself, which again appeals to that sense of transfer of responsibility that we need to appeal to if we want to successfully market our opportunities and get people to finally be able to pull the trigger. It's so incredibly important, and we have to make sure we do this again only if we believe in the opportunity and the founder. If we don't do it. If you don't believe in the founder, if you don't believe in the opportunity itself, then just have something else to market, because that just won't work. So the second thing that your target prospect is afraid of, okay, is to get rich. And this is super counterintuitive, by the way. Like, we sell the dream life. We want to help them get rich, but to them, the idea of getting rich is uncomfortable because they were brought up in a household where rich people were framed as bad people. Especially true for people raised in religious families. Desire to get rich is often framed as dirty, believe it or not, and the pursuit of wealth isn't a noble thing. We must change that before a purchase can occur. A great example of that is a really old recording of Zig Ziglar's talk on selling on YouTube, and I really just go look it up. It's Zig Ziglar Selling the Noble Profession. Basically, selling has a bad reputation as this dirty profession. Same thing as getting rich. And the pursuit of becoming great at sales is always like, even if you want to become a great salesperson, there's a conflict inside of you between being a pushy asshole salesperson, like the used car salesperson that always smiles but tries to really get you to buy a piece of shit car that nobody will invite to a Christmas dinner. And of course, the desire to be just the best salesman you can, or woman you can be. So the desire to get rich is the same thing. It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, they really want it. Deep inside, when they're left to their own devices, they want it. And that's why they invest in income opportunities. But they don't want to talk about it to their friends and family. They don't want to mention this at their church. They don't want... Like, I remember talking to this one person who used to work and live in Afghanistan, something to do with the military, and he has a sister that's his only relative, and he was trying to make money online for 6 months. And I asked him, so what does your sister feel about you trying to make money online? And he says, well, she doesn't know. I'm like, why wouldn't you share that with her? And he's like, well, because I just don't think she needs to know. Obviously he didn't tell me that explicitly, but obviously if I read between the lines, I came to the conclusion that, hey, he's ashamed of it. He's ashamed of it. And a lot of times, we will encounter guilt and shame when we try to sell income opportunities and get rich programs, also because people feel guilty investing in these programs while they say no to their loved ones or themselves about other things. So if, say, our customer is 55 years old and they have grandkids and or children, and their children are asking for some help with their rent or something like that, and they say no, right? They feel guilty putting this money into a get-rich program or tool or coaching or book instead of giving it to their kids to pay rent with, right? So there's guilt associated with that. And again, my point right now is that the get rich as a purpose, as a goal in life, is not a noble goal. That is why, for anyone who tries to make money online, The Wolf of Wall Street was such a highly successful movie. Like it left such a great imprint on everyone's mind. If you kind of take away the porn and the drugs and stuff like that. But the pursuit, what that movie done is that it built up the pursuit of getting rich, the pursuit of riches, the pursuit of wealth as a noble thing, because that's exactly what the organization was built on. Jordan Belfort's organization, right? It was built upon the desire to get rich, and the desire to get rich in and of itself was the noble cause that his tribe followed and kind of worshipped. And that was brilliant. That was freaking brilliant. You need to create if not exactly the same thing, but you need to basically sell the idea that getting rich is a noble thing, that there's nothing noble in being poor. In fact, what I do a lot is I sell against poverty. I sell against people who insists, okay, um, basically people who insist that one moment, I just had a text message come in. I should have turned it off, of course. Okay, cool. No more text messages. I apologize. So you need to sell against the poverty. Nothing noble in poverty. You need to literally come up with as many reasons as you can to share with people why being poor is quite literally the worst thing you can do. Okay, and unless you do that, you will have a really hard time convincing them to justify the investment into an income opportunity. And this is deep stuff. This is the kind of stuff that even the person buying doesn't even think about it until you actually tell them about it. So this is really big. It took me, to this day, I still have it, by the way. Like to this day, I still won't go and I won't buy myself a Porsche Panamera or a Mercedes G-Wagon, right? Because these are super expensive cars that seem like an excessive purchase. At the same time, I look at other people who have these cars and drive these cars, especially here in Toronto where I live. It's just fucking crazy. Just people is like they're shitting with money, and like I look at them and I'm like, I really wish I had that. But then I'm like, okay, but I know I can have it, right? But I'm not buying it. Why? Because I feel that it's not noble. I feel that it's bad and dirty, and instead of spending $150,000 on a car, I should probably go and put that money down on a house or maybe a couple of houses. So that's the thinking. That's the kind of thinking we need to overcome in order to get people to invest. Now, the third thing that they're afraid of is credentials. By the way, let me write down the first and the second thing, just so we can see it to try and fail. To get rich, credentials. So what is this about? Now, credentials basically comes down to this. To make a doctor's income, you must go to med school and get a doctorate degree. You can't just own a high income without paying your dues. That's the thing. One of the most common concerns I hear from clients is, who I am to blank, right? So if I tell them, okay, go shoot 3 videos about how to make money from home. Yeah, but, I never made money from home. Who am I to shoot videos about that? That sort of thing. And obviously, if we're talking about, the noble pursuit of $10,000 per month, then how can they justify to themselves the ability to make that money if they haven't gone to school for that, if they haven't gotten the credentials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's in a big way, that's why people have the imposter syndrome too. It's like when they succeed, all of a sudden they have this fear of being exposed as a fraud because they don't have the credentials. Because most people who succeed on a really wide scale usually are self-educated, so they don't have a diploma or a degree or a written permission from the president of the Success Association, sealed saying, yeah, you're qualified to make 10 grand per month. Now go and just fucking do it. So there's no such thing. And we have to overcome that. We have to help people overcome that by putting the responsibility for success on something else, right? Again, we could tell them, hey, look, you don't have credentials, and that's fine. You really don't need credentials because, look at all these people that I work with. This person is an ex-school teacher. This person is an ex-mortgage broker. This person is quite literally a homeless person who I helped succeed, etc. And you kind of share these case studies of other people who didn't have credentials. That's one way to do it. But another way to do it is to transfer the responsibility for success on something else. So, and people have this stuff, have this hiccup about everything, including, not being fit to sell, not being fit to educate, to present, to speak, to shoot videos, to appear as guest contributor on media outlets, to write emails. Even something as simple as writing emails. It's something I bump into all the time, and it's super annoying. It's like they just refuse to do it because they don't feel they got the credentials to write emails. It's just crazy. So the wrong way to solve this, by the way, is to inspire your customer interaction. It's say something like, you were destined for a great life, right? You have it in you. You've got, you have to stop listening to your inner critic and you have to take action. Like that actually doesn't work at all. That shit just flies kind of over. That really doesn't work. May work sometimes with people who truly believe deep inside that they deserve it. And if you kind of keep telling them for long enough, but usually to build a bridge between where they are right now and their dream income, we need to use the opportunity and the technology and the person who runs the opportunity. The system, right, is what makes it possible for them to attain what used to be only possible for elite few. So the result can't come from their own efforts. In other words, like the end result cannot be dependent purely on them because they don't feel they just don't feel they have what it takes. The transfer of responsibility, once again, has to occur to someone or something outside of themselves. Number 4, low self-esteem. It really ties in well to the credentials part because it's really a part of it. Basically, it can be possible for other people, but not me. That's the thinking. Many can't overcome the belief that they're just not destined to be rich. Just not something they will ever achieve because that's just who they are. That's just how people think about themselves. They just kind of lock themselves into this mind frame and that you cannot shake them out of it. They believe what you're selling is possible. Like they believe that if someone made $1 million with your system, they say, yeah, I believe they did, but they're special and I'm not. Like that's the excuse. So while they believe it's possible, they don't believe it's attainable for them specifically. And to overcome this, we have 2 strategies. A, we present testimonies and case studies from all kinds of backgrounds, ethnicities, ages, and sexes, and professions, until they find someone that looks kind of like them, and they'd be like, huh, interesting. If that person succeeded, maybe I can. And now, the conversation starts basically saying, okay, let me take a look at it. Now we're moving. And the second is exaggerate our own flaws and failures to show, look how stupid I am. Look how incompetent I am. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Which is why, a lot of times you'll hear in presentations and sales copy and VSLs, there's always going to be a story that basically positions the person who writes it or the person who presents it as the biggest dumbest in the world. Like somebody who was diagnosed with brain damage when they were in high school, somebody who dropped out of every college course, somebody who got kicked out of their house and whose mother told them they're stupid. Like you hear this all the time. And the reason you hear this is because whoever sells you needs to downplay their skill set big time, okay, in order to be able to convert. Now, at the same time, while in the beginning they downplay it, right, towards the end of the presentation, they will always build themselves up as being the person to help you become successful, like the person who supposedly takes others from failure to success, which is another part of this equation where whoever joins you needs to believe that you made the journey and the transformation from where they are right now to where they want to be, and you will take them there. Okay. Now, again, you may think, okay, but I haven't made the transformation yet. Well, you are making it. Okay. Because all you need to do to technically complete the transformation is to show your customer you understand them completely. At that point, 90% of the work is done, right? If they feel you know what they're going through and you know it better than they do, then they will cling to you as the ultimate person to put trust in than anyone else. It's all about that. It's all about feeling understood and feeling loved. So keep that in mind. So the 5th thing they're afraid of is too dumb, too busy. So it's really self-explanatory. They really believe that they're not smart enough and they don't have too much, like enough time to learn this stuff. Okay. People prefer drugs to therapy for that reason, actually, because drugs don't require them to change or to learn. You can just pop a pill and it kind of fixes the problem. Of course, most pills don't fix the problem at all, and they don't fix the actual problem. They fix the symptom of the problem, but that's a whole different story. That's why the pharmaceutical industry is such an incredible industry, probably bigger than banking, and that pharmaceutical companies actually one of the biggest influence from the banking industry for that reason, because it's human nature to want to pop a pill to fix a problem. That's why everybody's looking for a shortcut, because that's the pill, that's the proverbial pill. So they want to fix the problem with the pill because they believe they're too dumb and too busy to first understand and then learn how to fix the problem by basically fixing themselves, and nobody interested in doing that. So keep that in mind. That is why the system, again, going back to the same concept, transfer responsibility, the system is going to fix everything. Okay, now 6, they're afraid to look stupid. Now, this is a big one that's not actually, they're never going to tell you about it. You only learn about it later on by observing and interacting with your customers, okay? They're afraid to look stupid. Their friends and their family, okay, they're not supportive most of the time. And our clients are afraid to embarrass themselves in front of their friends and their family, okay? Every time they make an investment, every time they begin a new program, every time they do anything related to making money from home. So to basically help them overcome that is we can do 3 things. First off, we help them by easily serving them or articulating for them one big logical reason why they're making a wise choice by investing today. Okay, that's really important. They have to have at least one big logical reason why investing today is a wise choice. The second thing is we appeal to their sense of sacrifice and how their decision actually is done to help their loved ones. And you'll find that 90% of the time, anyone who buys an income opportunity, anyone who strives to get rich, usually wants to do it, if they're truly serious about it, for other people. So, for example, I usually collect applications from people who apply to work with me in some way, shape, or form, whether it's for traffic, done for you list program, for really just anything. And so, well, what I do, I ask like the exact question in the application. I say, so how will achieving this outcome, okay, is going to improve the lives of your loved ones? Like, how is this actually going to help your family? How is this actually going to help your friends? How is this going to help the people you care about the most? And let me take a quick sip of water, because I realize I've been talking for 90 minutes without actually, gotta get some water. So when I ask them, most of the time, the answers are, my daughter will be able to go to better school. My wife will be able to quit her day job. And basically, there's not a single person who answered that question to me so far, and I have about 500 applications with that question. Not a single person left it blank or said something like, I'm doing this because I'm a selfish asshole. Not a single one. Like, they all wrote about their friends, their family, their parents, and that's really one of the bigger secrets to getting people to overcome many of the barriers that get in the way of the sale. Is the moment you help them realize that they're accountable, or should I say, the moment you help them realize that whatever they're going to do with you helps them improve the lives of the people they hold themselves accountable to. And usually, if they are a mother, then it's their kids and their husband. If they're if they're a father, then it's their children, right? If they are maybe like a 19-year-old, then maybe they're doing it to help their single mom who brought them up. For example, again, I will bring up David. David did it in a big way for 2 people. There's just 2 people that David kind of joined my coaching, paid me 10 grand at the time, which was an incredible amount of money, which of course he paid on a payment plan. and basically there's two people. First, his daughter. His daughter was, I think, like 2 years at the time. And he kind of was looking into the future, thinking about the legacy and thinking about the kind of life he wants to build for her. And the second person is his mother who brought him up, a single mother who he's still, really close with, and they like live close by, and he helps her out. He basically takes care of his mother. And so the online business was built in a big way for two people, David's mother and David's daughter. Now, for me, when I started in this industry, and the reason I think that I stuck to it so long, even though my first 3.5 years were really, really bad, is because I was driven by one thing. I was driven by a sense that it is up to me to save my parents from living a shitty life of poverty, like in about 5 to 7 years from that day. Because my dad already undergone 2 heart attacks and 1 open heart surgery. My mom still haven't learned the language at the time. So she was working shitty jobs and getting fired every 6 months. So, I mean, we were sinking deeper in that all the time. And yep. So Joel is writing, "That's me." Yep. I'm just kind of bringing up the chat here real quick. Yeah. I know exactly how you feel. So, that is exactly why we have to remind them and help them. And this is actually not even manipulation, because the desire is already there. That's a big thing people don't get about marketing. They feel you're manipulative by bringing certain things up. No, by using questions, you can basically have the people tell you why they do things, and you should, because then it's coming from them, not from you. And if there is a desire to hold themselves responsible towards the people they love, that's really all they need in order to kind of step like over the fence or jump off the fence, really, because they're doing it for the people they love. Nobody's trying to get rich just because they want to get a nice car. That's a thing people say sometimes because that's what they think other people expect them to say. But the reality is they want to give back. The reality is most people are good people and they want to share and give. And for that to happen, they need to make a lot of fucking money. And that's just the nature of the world that we live in. Okay. So appeal to that sense. Now, the third thing that we can do to help people overcome this concern of looking stupid is we can build affinity through the story. Oh, wow. Somebody's calling me. Let's decline them. I'm sorry about that. So the other thing we do is we where was I? Yeah. So we build affinity through telling a story of how unsupportive our own family members were. So I always tell the story. I actually told it on my podcast and got raving feedback. I had people message me about it so often. Like I told the story of how my dad used to kind of wait up in the kitchen until I would come out of my room, where I would spend a lot of time trying to work my business just to grab a bite. And he would like sit there until 1 a.m. in the morning, sometimes drunk. Okay. And he would like give me shit about trying to get rich online, even though I was doing it in a big way for him as well. And right now, obviously, he's different. Right now, him and my mom, they live in the apartment I bought for them, cash. Okay, back in Israel. And so obviously now they really supportive. But back then, my dad was really just an asshole about it. My mom didn't say anything, but she kind of avoided the conversations. But he was just an asshole about it, and he wasn't supportive. And I tell this story all the time, and it just creates a different type of connection between me and the people listening. Again, you do the same exact thing. It will take you a little bit of time to sit down, like just literally just take, I don't know, 3 hours, sit down and set yourself up on a mission to figure out what stories from your real life experience, both in the business and outside of it, you can tell the people that will really resonate with how they feel based on what you learned today. Okay, it's a tremendous advantage for you. So that's the 3 things we do. We articulate one big logical reason to act now. We appeal to the sense of sacrifice and how the decision influences the people they love the most. And we share how unsupportive our own family members are or were when we started. Now, 7, they're afraid of not being able to find the time. Now, basically, somehow, some way, the world feels that it sped up. You know what I mean? Like it just got much faster. Things are getting much faster right now, and it seems like we have less and less time every day to do the things that we wanted to really keep up with life. So, once they believe it's possible and that it's possible for them, they will always bring up the objection of time in 2 fundamental ways. First, the time isn't right because of a global or a general reason. So like if you ever try to sell Bitcoin, you probably encountered it like, hey, let's get into Bitcoin. Oh no, it's a bubble. I'm waiting for it to burst. You know what I mean? Like it's just, oh, let's do Bitcoin. Oh no, it's too late. It's too late because it's already high. It's not going to go up. So they're always going to come up with something. And the second is the time is not perfect for them because of a personal reason. Daughter's getting married, they got Texas coming up, they have a vacation next month and they want to do it after the vacation and blah, 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 blah. So the only way to fight these is scarcity. Like there's really nothing else you can do. Like if they bring up the time, you don't even engage in the conversation to try and explain to them why the timing is perfect. What you do is you say, okay, but if you don't act now, you lose the bonus. Okay, if you don't act now, you pay double tomorrow. Like that's the only way to do it. It's the fear of missing out. It's the scarcity. Because otherwise you end up getting into a conversation that you simply cannot win. You cannot convince them otherwise. So urgency trumps all reasons not to act, okay, in 2 ways. First, we must limit the offer. Even if it is sold in unlimited quantities, right? We still have to limit it in some way. Maybe we had a bonus that we take away. Maybe it's a special offer and then the price goes back up to its retail value and so on. Or we must turn the reason not to act into a reason to act now. Okay? So again, we keep the scarcity. The scarcity is there, but then we gently nudge them towards action by basically turning it upside down. Like, so if they say something along the lines of, I can't invest now because I have a seasonal business, and my income will go down in the summer, then, the reason, and that's the reason not to act now, you reposition it, you reframe it, and you say, well, this means your income is going to go down very, very soon. So don't you think it's smart to start working on your income opportunity right now so you can perhaps, help out with that? So again, you reframe it as the reason to act now, just a gentle nudge to kind of bump them over the fence. Number 8, the thing they're afraid of is, I briefly mentioned it before, it's guilt. And basically your customer feels guilty investing money into income opportunities while their brother-in-law is struggling to pay rent. They feel guilty taking money that can otherwise be given to children or grandkids, or fix their house. I was actually chatting with a client 3 weeks ago, and she was telling me how she wanted to invest into our new program, and then she was like, "Yeah, I really wish I could do that, but there's really my money is just I just don't have money right now because it's really tied up in all these super important things. Like, we've been planning to renovate our house for such a long time and got to really paint it and stuff like that. And we've really wanted that car." Like she starts telling me all these things that she's going to spend money on that she claims to be urgent on the call to justify to herself, why that's important. When the reality is she's guilty to spend money on herself, what seems like herself, rather than spending money on the things that her entire family will benefit from, such as car, vacation, house renovation, and so on. 9, big results. Believe it or not, people are actually afraid of big results. Basically what that means is that they're afraid of asking for big results because they believe they'll fail and it will hurt. And they believe that aiming for a higher income and failing is more painful than aiming for a low income and failing somehow, right? So in other words, like if my goal is to make $1,000 and I tried for a month and I failed, then it won't hurt as much as if I tried to make $100,000 for a month and I tried and I failed. So people don't get that it's actually the opposite that's true, where if you're spending a month trying to make $1,000, you may fail, you may make somewhere between 1,000 and zero, right? So somewhere between the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. But if you're aiming to make 100,000 in a month, then you'll probably take some massive action that will lend you anywhere between 0 and 100,000, which is going to be way bigger and way better than just $1,000. So, but people don't get that. The belief is that if I aim high and I fail, it hurts more than if I aim low and I fail. Therefore, they will aim lower. And if you present them with a claim that says, "Oh, I made $4 million," right? To many of them, they just cannot make the connection. To many of them, it's like, I will not do that because it seems like too far out of my comfort zone. So that pretty much concludes what they're afraid of. It's not the full list, by the way, but I'm giving you the biggest ones. Okay, so the next one is what frustrates them, what angers them, right? Who are they angry at? What are they angry at? And so on and so forth. Now, I can already tell you that we will not be able to complete the entire list of things that I plan to go through today. So we will schedule a part 2 training for this particular lesson, right? So just so you're aware at this point. Now, what angers them? What frustrates them? So first and foremost, silver spoon, right? Silver spoon in mouth is what frustrates them. I know it frustrates me so bad. It's like I had to work so hard to earn my wealth, and when I see like a 19-year-old driving a Porsche, or like as I was just driving to David's place, I saw a 16-year-old driving a Mustang, a Shelby Mustang, basically, the one from the Gone in 60 Seconds, and I was like, motherfucker, I mean, he just got it. He just got it. I still don't have it, and I work really hard. But again, this is my problem, not his, for sure. But what I can tell you is that people that we're targeting, they do not like silver spoon in mouth. They really don't see as getting something as being noble and worthy. What they prefer is to work hard to attain it. They even have a phrase for it. It's called hard-earned money, right? It's not a coincidence. That's what people believe. Now, the other thing that frustrates them is that they're told to do something by the gurus, but not how to do it. Okay? They understand ideas, but lack the blueprint to execute. So they're being told what to do, but not how to do it. Like that's a big one, actually. That's a big one. Let me check the chat box real quick. Your mic got lower. Okay. How about now? Is it good? Can you guys type in? Can you hear me okay? Is it clear? All I care about is it clear? Can you clearly understand what I'm saying? Yep, good, yes, good. Yep, okay, cool. Thank you. So the third thing that that they're really frustrated about is that their friends and family do not support them. Okay, so it's the unsupportive environment that they're in, and they really hate it. Sometimes they are willing to do anything to escape it. I know that I was. So I moved out of my parents' home with my girlfriend and now my wife, Anastasia, when I really couldn't afford it because I couldn't stand it anymore. I couldn't stand my dad ambushing me every night in the kitchen. Like I just couldn't take that shit anymore. So I just moved out. And you have to, like, people just can't bear this environment. And that's also why it's so cool to attend seminars, to get into like mastermind groups, because you surround yourself with a positive and supportive environment that eventually influences your success in a really meaningful way. Okay, it's really important. That's why you need coaching. That's why you need masterminds. That's why you need to participate in all these things, even though they're really fucking expensive. But that's why you need them. Now, The fourth thing that really annoys them is that their life in its current form has no meaning. And this is a big one. This is actually why someone with a really high paying job will go and become an income opportunity marketer, walk away from the job altogether, because they feel like their efforts and their actions have no meaning, no potential, like no impact, if you will. They want to feel they have meaning. They want to feel like they're progressing towards a goal that has meaning. They want to know that their actions, that they're, I'm sorry, that the actions they're taking every day have meaning and impact. Now, 5 is very close to it, but slightly different. It's they're failing to reach their true potential. Okay, failing to reach true potential. Now, what this means is that if we're talking to a true true blue-blooded income opportunist, and I just genuinely feel I belong in that category. The genuine opportunist really feels that they have this incredible potential to achieve a whole lot, just way more than the average Joe, and that every moment that they're not achieving it is physically painful, especially if they're seeing other, for lack of a better term, shitheads achieving, and having more impact and having a wider reach and more income, right, than they do, and they feel it physically. So appealing to that is so powerful. Every self-help coach, actually, every like a person that's more like a Tony Robbins type of person, right, they will always appeal to that sense, because as soon as you talk about true potential to people that really feel that they have more to give to the world, the whole price thing, just goes out the window. It just kind of eliminates the price conversation. And if you ever wonder how does someone go and pay $50,000 to attend a mastermind, well, that's how. Because they know their true potential is like 100 times that, and they don't mind paying 50 grand. So number 6, they wish they were younger, smarter, richer, and healthier, right? So younger, smarter, richer, healthier. So whatever their life is right now, whatever their condition is right now, they just want more of it. And this is pure greed. Like, there's really no noble pursuit in this. They're just human nature. That's why you see, for example, football players and basketball players and soccer players. I follow the soccer industry because I was born in Ukraine, and that's pretty much the best sport you can follow over there. The soccer industry just dramatically and unjustifiably increases salaries to its players every single year. Like, when I moved to Israel that year, I think it was that year that David Beckham moved transferred from Manchester United to Real Madrid. And that was the biggest contract in history. I think it was like 50 million euros or $50 million, right? Then 8 years later, Ronaldo signs like something like 175 million. And then, the next year, Neymar signs, with PSG, he signs like 300 million or something like that. Like, it's just outrageous figures, but they always grow. Why? Because people are fucking greedy, because they always want more of the same that they have. So just accept it as a part of the human nature, and just kind of learn to just be okay with it. Like, nothing bad with it. It's just human nature, honestly. Just nothing that I'm telling you here today comes from a standpoint of judgment, unless I'm honestly just ridiculing someone's behavior. But I really, 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 really wish you just accept things as they are in the industry, because you will have so much easier time, like just such an easy time getting things down. So number 7, a thing that frustrates them is when they sit down to market their business, they often get lost searching for things or get pulled into a new direction and lose time and money. Okay, so that basically, I call it going down the rabbit hole. Now, this is very common for people who just get started, especially. They start researching and they start with a keyword, and all of a sudden, an hour later, they are on 5 different mailing lists. They downloaded 19 lead magnets. They read 15 blog articles, and they're watching a 90-minute presentation on something that's completely irrelevant from where they started. So it just happens, especially with the newbies. And so if you're marketing to that crowd, and you are, trust me, then you definitely want to talk about it. They refer to it as the information overload, although it's more like inability to stay focused at the task at hand, more like a muscle they need to develop. But they refer to it as an information overload. They're number 8. They're discouraged by previous failures. They're projecting their past failures on their present and future attempts to succeed, right? So past failures. And they annoy them a lot, because with the past failure, what happens is they drag the baggage. They remember the failures. They blame themselves for the failures. They still feel the pain from those failures, and it's really heavy on them, right? Which is why one of the biggest things we need to be doing in income opportunity marketing is we need to, and of course, same thing again, like, guys, you have to remember, same shit happens in every other mainstream industry: dating, weight loss, everything else. We have to appeal to the sense that it's not their fault. So again, I'm just, for the sake of just keeping things interesting, I'm going to give an example from the weight loss industry. So if we're marketing to women over 45 years old who want to lose 10 pounds by this time 30 days from now, because they got a reunion coming up, or they just got divorced and they need to get back in shape and get back into the dating circuit, right? We have to appeal to their sense of, hey, the reason you haven't been able to lose weight in the past is not your fault. It's really not. It's not because you're incapable of sticking to a diet. It's not because you got no willpower and you eat sugar all day. It's not because you refuse to, go to the gym 3 times a week. It's not because you haven't stuck to your, trainer's regimen. It's not because you have more sweets in your refrigerator and ice cream than you have, decent, proper food. No, it's not. It's because the methods have failed. It's because the diets don't work, right? So it has to be there when we present it to them. It has to be there, because otherwise they don't listen. Because the alternative is to say, is that for that woman to admit to herself and be like, oh my God, I'm a lazy, incapable, slothful person. I'm a complete failure. I cannot, that's the alternative, and nobody's going to admit that. Now, incidentally, the people who do admit that, when I tell the story on my podcast, how at one point before I decided to lose weight for real, obviously I tried several times and failed, but one point I stood naked in front of my mirror. That was like a full height mirror where you could see your entire self in. And I was fat, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, Igor, you're fucking disgusting. That was the moment, okay? That was the moment when I got disgusted with myself, and I get honest with myself that it was my fault I'm fat, not because my dad is fat and his mom is fat, and that means that our generation, I now have to remain fat because in my genetics or something like that, Yeah, I know it's funny, Joel. I know it's funny, but it's true. That was the moment when first off, I cut out soda. That day, I just threw out all Coca-Colas and Pepsis and everything. I stopped eating cakes. I started running every other day, no matter whether it was a weekday or a weekend, no matter if I was away that day. I just found a way to just run. I just I used a jump rope. I jump roped in my home. I would put on like a sweatsuit and just kind of jump there for 30 minutes. I did everything that I needed to do to lose weight, and I lost it. I lost the weight. I didn't get skinny, as in too skinny. I right now weigh 74 kilograms, and my height is 179 centimeters, which I think it's almost 6 feet tall. And I think it's normal. It's okay, but I'm by no means I'm no bodybuilder. But I lost the weight that I felt was too much, only because I admitted to myself that I was a lazy asshole that kept on blaming everything and everyone, like genetics and my father, for being overweight. So There you go. Number 9, they're bored with what they're doing now. They want more excitement in their life. And so honestly, because they lack like interest in what they're doing and they're bored, they then become bored about their entire life. Nothing is the same. Like when people describe to you the experience of the food tasting like dirt, and them losing sleep at night, not being able to fall asleep anymore because they turned their bed, like that's why they're fucking bored. People are bored out of their minds, and they need to engage themselves into something. Okay. And so that's one of those frustrations, but again, they can't voice it. A lot of this stuff that I'm giving you, by the way, guys, is not something that people can actually tell you. Like, they will not be able to articulate it, but they will be, they will have that aha look, an aha moment when you tell it to them. When you kind of mirror their experience to them, they'd be like, oh my God, that's exactly me. That's me. You're talking about me. And the moment you achieve that, okay, the moment you achieve that is the moment you win them over. That's the moment when they become fans for life. Number 10, they're a slave to someone else's will, right? Or like the specific of the way they bring it up in the conversation is, I'm tired of someone else calling the shots for me. So in other words, like, I'll give you an example. There's a team member that became part of my team about 1.5 years ago. I call him G-Biz. That's his nickname. So G-Biz is a former coaching client, and he came in and to work with me having 0 prior experience in internet marketing, which is unusual for me because usually people seek me out after having tried to unsuccessfully make money for a couple of years. For example, that's what David is. He tried for a long time, and then he would be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get some help, and so then he got coaching. Now with G-Biz, it was different. He just came in cold. He just saw the kind of money I was making. He saw the car I was driving. He just said, so how much is it? I'm like, okay, it's going to be 12 and a half. And at the time, I wasn't even doing coaching. He was like, okay, cool, here. He brought it to me cash, and we kind of set off from there. But it was very difficult. It was very difficult because he was brand new to the industry, and I didn't have the benefit of working with the platform. But here's the point. G-Biz actually had a really good job. He's a paramedic, and he used to work for a giant facility back home where they did some sort of chemical work. So it's one of the largest companies in the country, period. And he got paid. If I'm right, and I am, I think he got paid close to $6,500 US per month, in a town where the average cost of living, where you could actually live really well on about $1,500 per month, right? So he was in a really good spot. But the reason he joined my program and eventually quit his job is because he could not go on vacation when he wanted. Like, that was the one thing that annoyed the crap out of him. Every time he wanted to go on vacation, he loved skiing. He couldn't. He just couldn't do it because his boss would be like, well, I cannot let you go, G-Biz, because Frank is going on vacation that time. You should go on vacation, in the winter, or you should go on vacation in the spring. And none of that would work for him. He would always have to rearrange his life to fit his coworkers and his boss's schedule. And that was the most annoying thing in the world for him, enough to make him walk away from the day job. It was incredible. It was just incredible. It was the first time that I truly seen it with my own eyes in real life rather than just hearing about it from other people. Like, the guy walking away from a really lucrative job where he had the future secured and everything to become a freelancer, if you will, only because he couldn't go on vacation when he wanted. And then I've heard the same thing from another client of mine who used to be a Florida cop, an Orlando cop. And, he wanted to go to Disneyland, to Disney World with his daughter, and he had it all planned out in July. And then he wanted to go, and about a week before, his boss said, look, I can't let you go, man, because we don't have enough people on the force right now. You have to stay. And there's really nothing, like there's no argument about it. You're just staying. So he has to cancel the vacation with his daughter. I mean, to a father to say no to his child when, they were prepping up for that vacation for a long time, that's painful. That's really painful. So, if your prospect has someone else calling the shots, all you have to do is just either appeal to that using, just talking about it, or just tell a story of your own where someone else was calling the shots in your life and how much it annoyed you. And bam, instant rapport right there. That's how you build rapport, just instantly. Really, really easy, honestly, just really easy. But again, this is the kind of stuff you learn only like years and years later after you've made some money. So 11 is they are forced to settle. This is a big one. They don't buy things they want. They have to suck it up until a point where wanting itself feels painful. So in other words, if they want to buy a nice car, or they want to buy a nice phone, or they want to buy something for their family, or they want to buy nice clothes for their kids, they have to say no. And often they have to settle for a cheaper, less exciting thing, right? So instead of going to Disney World for vacation, they go to, I don't know, whatever's worse than Disney, which is pretty much everything, right? So again, money becomes a reason why they can or cannot do something, and they hate it. They just hate it. Okay, so forced to settle. Now, the 12 is they got a lot of rejection in their life. They're told no more times than they want to hear, and they want to hear a yes. So again, nobody likes being rejected. Nobody likes the feeling of not being able to get what they want. And I mean, if you got kids and you ever had to say no to your kid, you probably know that. It's immediately they start crying and begging, and I just hate it. I just hate it. My wife, though, I'm sorry, my daughter, though, she learned how to get to me. Like she stopped saying no, 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 or crying about it. She'd just be like, "Daddy, please." Yeah, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, nobody likes hearing no. And if they are providing for a family, they don't like saying it either. Like they don't want to be the one saying no. Like sometimes my wife would be like, my daughter would approach her and she'd be like, "Can I have this or that?" And no, she knows that she has to say no, but she doesn't have the stomach for it. So she'd be like, "Go ask your dad. To see if your dad agrees." And then she comes to me and I'd be like, nope. But daddy, please, no. Right. So, but I do it from a different place, right? Because I know I can buy her anything she wants. It's just, I do it for the purpose of education and not growing up a spoiled little brat. But you get the point. Nobody likes saying no because they can't afford it. It's just not a fun thing to do. And it annoys the crap out of them. So you need to plan on. 13, they put other people's, and usually it's family and friends and siblings, desires before their own because they were brought up conditioned this is the right thing to do. They're tired of other people getting what they want, but them not getting what they want, right? So they kind of annoyed by the fact that they have to put the mask. You know how in the airplane you have to put your own mask first and then you kind of start putting masks on other people? Well, it's the same thing, only the opposite, where they put everyone else's mask first. And they have to put their own mask last, but by the time they're done putting other people's masks on, there's no more oxygen, okay? So I'll just put in oxygen masks because it sounds cool. So 14, they're tired and they're exhausted. Now, actually, most of it comes from not having interest in what they're doing. For example, right now, I'm tired. I'm freaking tired because yesterday was like an incredibly intense day for me. The day before was also like pretty much every week this week was intense. But even though I'm tired, I'm happy. I'm not tired angry. I'm tired happy to conduct the stream because it's just exciting to me, right? I just love this stuff. And to them, they're tired because they're also they really hate what they're doing. So they're really tired and exhausted. Again, mostly because they have no interest in what they're doing. They just really have no desire to do it anymore. 15. Someone they know who's younger but not necessarily smarter makes what they want to make, drives a car they want to drive, etc. They look for a reason why they're doing better for themselves because the alternative is to admit they're stupid or lazy or blah blah blah. So in other words, they look at someone who they know wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, who's actually rich, and it's annoying to them because they'd be like, I know this guy or I know this person, they're not smarter than me. It annoys them because they don't know how they got rich. So again, it's annoying because of their potential. It's annoying because they realize that average people get rich and they're not, which only can say one thing: either that person got lucky, or they themselves are actually incompetent. So other people's success. I think there's a term, keeping up with the Joneses, that can kind of relate to it. When they see people driving nice cars, they go buy nice cars as well just to keep up, etc. 16, they have to say no to their loved ones, and that's something they know and remember from their childhood, and they don't like to experience it, right? So we've been over it with the rejection and tired to say no. So I'm not going to write this down. 17. Well, actually, it's 17 on my list, but it's 16 for you. They're trying to choose between too many options and methods. They cannot decide because they don't feel qualified, and in their ability to choose. In other words, they're looking at 3, 4, 5, 10 things at the same time, and they don't know which one is best for them, right? So inability to make a decision because of the sheer abundance of choice. Okay. Now, they can't get their specific questions answered. There's no one they can talk to. Oh, and this is a big one because, and you feel like that, usually you feel like that with virtually anything you set out to do that's brand new to you, and you try to look up answers online on your own, unless it's a minor, like really specific issue, such as how to upload my email swipe into Aweber, and you find a tutorial. But if these are abstract questions such as how to make money online, then it's really difficult to find the right answer. There's really no one they can talk to about getting those answers. So getting no answers and having lots and lots of questions piling up each and every day and getting more and more confused can feel incredibly annoying. So the moment they find someone they feel they can give them the answers, that's a moment of relief. That's actually a really happy moment for them. They believe there's a part of the story that hasn't been told to them. Okay, now this is a huge one. Believe there's a part of the story that hasn't been told to them. Now, here's why this is actually incredibly important. Because remember, one of the things in the 27-word persuasion course that I introduced you to earlier is people will do anything for people who confirm their suspicions. So this question, this point basically says, look, they suspect that it's possible, but they're not being told the full story about how it's done. So the moment you come out and you say, hey, there's been a part of the thing, hidden from you, and I'm going to be the one to tell you, again, instant rapport, instant trust, instant interest that you're generating with your target market. Again, not even making any claims to the fact that whether or not you made a lot of money, more so about, look, there's a thing that these elite few people know that you don't, which is why they make money and you don't. Now, it could be many different things, and it depends on the level of progress of our prospect on whether or not they know these things. But if we go to the lowest common denominator, usually, it could be things like list building, it could be things like traffic sources, it could be things like income opportunities that haven't been heavily advertised. It could be things like getting the help of a mentor, and so on and so forth. It could be pretty much anything can be positioned that way. Last but not least, the thing that frustrates and annoys them is unconscious, yet just they got conflicting beliefs. They don't understand it properly, but they bother them. In other words, they want something but reject the things that come with it having that something. Like, they want to get rich, but the pursuit of riches is not a noble pursuit. Therefore, there's a conflict of beliefs. Or they want to become, like I have this thing going on. I still haven't fixed it. I want to become an in-demand speaker on the topic of financial freedom, for example, in list building and marketing. But at the same time, I also want to be a really good dad, which means I want to spend a lot of time with my daughter and I want to influence the way she develops. Now, can I do both? And this is the doubt I have in my mind. Can I do both, really? Like, can I be traveling and speaking and be a good dad? Right now, I'm leaning towards a no. But that's a conflicting belief that I will have to, at one point, face and fix. But you see, your customers, they don't like doing that. They don't like facing their limiting beliefs. But by recognizing the kind of beliefs they do have, you can actually, in that conflict of beliefs, can kind of tilt the scales in the favor of the beliefs that are most useful to getting them to act on the opportunity, right? So I'm just going to put in conflicting beliefs. Now that pretty much sums up the first two questions. Now, as you can see from everything we talked about so far in the last 2 hours and 15 minutes, okay, I've done a pretty fucking deep analysis of the way people make buying decisions, of how they feel and what they think and so on and so forth about internet marketing programs. And as I suspected, we have to break this session into 2 sessions. We have to, this is going to be part 1. I'm going to conduct a part 2 training. I'm going to announce it to you later, where we're going to go into the rest of the 14 questions that I've outlined earlier. Okay, again, stop calling me, please. So what's important for you guys to take away from this training session so far is that even with the arsenal that I've given you so far, even with the things you've learned on this session alone, you can already go out there and start marketing your business opportunity in a completely new way that will allow your potential customers to recognize you as somebody who truly understands them and makes them feel understood. Okay, by doing so, you will immediately raise your game. You will immediately become one of those guys that people look up to, at least the people who are coming after you, right? People who join the industry after you've joined. And I really, really encourage you to use this information in every single piece of content you put out. Written content, audio content, video content, doesn't matter. Or just very purely understanding the customer differently when you talk to them too. Because I bet some of you are talking to people by emailing them or chatting with them or meeting them somewhere. And even people in real life. Like when you just meet people in real life, you'll probably have some of them joining your business opportunity anyway. And this stuff will allow you to know where they are coming from and to adjust the conversation to help them make the transition from being a person who can't even wrap their mind around joining an income opportunity to being somebody who truly needs one and works really hard to make things happen. So thank you very much for attending the first part of the Ideal Customer Avatar session. I really enjoyed this, and I look forward to hosting the second one for you. And in the meantime, until next time we chat, have a good one.